So, welcome back for part two. We are going to be diving into the anatomy of relationship. And just as an overview, we're going to be covering the three C's: connection, commitment, and capacity. So, let's start by exploring connection and commitment. The connection in a relationship is the link between A and B. So, you and the other person, place, or thing. And then the commitment is the agreement around the connection, or the agreement to be linked and connected. So I want you to get out your worksheets, and for each of these four relationship dynamics you picked, if you picked four, I want you to take a moment, and you can pause the video if you need, take as much time as you need to describe the quality of the connection in each of the relationships. So first, look at the securely attached relationship dynamic that you identified and pick out 1 to 3 words that describe the quality of the connection, knowing that you can use words other than what I've provided here. I just tried to provide a broad, stroke of connection words to cover just the full range, but you can definitely use your own. And once you've done that, do that for the other 3. The one where you identified anxious attachment in the dynamic, avoidant attachment, and ambivalent. After you've done that, I want you to describe the quality of the commitment in the relationship. So again, you can use these words, other words that come to you, 1 to 3 for each relationship. So now that we have explored the relationship connection and the relationship commitment, the quality of those, let's talk about capacity. So what is capacity? Capacity is the amount of connection and commitment available. So it's directly linked to the quality words that you just chose. The thing that's important when we start to look at capacity, the thing that's important to understand is that there are so many factors that impact yours or the other person, place, or thing's capacity. So examples are power dynamics, social and cultural conditioning, age and phase of life, potential conflicts of interest, illness or disability. IQ and EQ is just your intelligence quotient, and your emotional intelligence, your EQ. It's a pretty in-depth topic. Feel free to look that up or send me a message if you want more information on that. Current or past trauma, attachment styles, which is part of what we're exploring, and socioeconomic factors and archetypal roles. So I want you to take a minute on your worksheet. There's a whole page, and just think about, for each relationship, what are the factors impacting capacity? And you may want to pause the video to really sit down and examine this closely. And again, these could be things that impact you, the A, B, the other person, or it could impact the dynamic between the two of you. It doesn't really matter. I just want you to consider, what are all the things impacting capacity? So once you've done that, we're going to move to the next part of the activity, where I'm going to have you rate the capacity of A, that is you, and the capacity of B, the other person, place, or thing, with high being a 10 and low being a 1. So just take a moment and think about your capacity in this dynamic on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high and low being 1. And then what you imagine, based on the information that you have, is the capacity of the other person, place, or thing, with 10 being high capacity and 1 being low capacity. Not, remembering that you just thought about the things impacting capacity. So once you've done that, I want you to take a moment and look at the capacity of A and the capacity of B, and whatever the lowest number is becomes the relational capacity. So what I mean by that is that at any moment in time, the relational capacity cannot exceed the person, place, or thing with the lowest capacity. So this is really, really important when looking at relationships. And just to bring this home for this portion, now we're going to bring attachment back in. So I know I've already explained these 4 energies, and I just want you to see, may or may not line up with what you got for each of the 4 dynamics, but this is typically what I see in relationships. So when there is secure attachment energy present, there is a similar desire for connection. So the quality of the connection is very mutual, balanced. There is a similar desire for commitment. So devoted, mutual, balanced again. And also that is paired with clear communication and acceptance about capacity. So even if there is different capacity, there's a level of like acceptance and understanding around that. With anxious attachment energy, there's usually a desire. So if you have the anxious energy in the dynamic, you will desire a higher quality connection and commitment with the other person, place, or thing. So some of the words that you might have picked would be, there's a half-hearted or transactional. I don't know specifically what words you would have picked, but that's how you would have described the connection, the commitment. And then that paired with poor communication or a lack of acceptance about capacity. So it is possible the other person, place, or thing is communicating well, but you with the anxious attachment are struggling to accept the capacity that the person is communicating about. Or they could just not be communicating at all, which quite frankly should make anyone anxious. Very understandable. With avoidant attachment energy, there's usually if you are the one in the avoidant energy, there's less desire for connection and or commitment, paired with poor communication, potentially on your part, or if you are communicating well, the other person, place, or thing has a lack of acceptance about capacity. And lastly, there's the ambivalent attachment energy. So this shows up where there's conflicting desires for connection and commitment, paired with inconsistent communication and or a lack of acceptance about capacity, which is also normal if you are giving mixed messages. So this is the end of part 2, and I hope this was helpful, and we will be back with more in the next section.